learning and offering of psalms as we approach the election in November. We've been offering a psalm each day to approach the election. Where are you going? And each day they've been pretty relevant. This day, Psalm 9, actually, when you look at Psalm 9 and Psalm 10 and you look at what the commentators have said, typically Psalm 9 and 10 go together, because you'll see Psalm 10 doesn't really have the typical beginning, a Psalm of David, or Mizmor LeDavid, or Lemanatzeach, it doesn't have a typical beginning, but Psalm 9 is kind of long, so we decided we'd just do Psalm 9 today. Psalm 9 talks about both the victims, but also the perpetrators of evil. And, one of the symbols of this time of year is this beautiful, fragrant, tasty etrog. It's so beautiful to see. But what we know about the etrog is that even though the etrog is the most perfect of all of these symbols, four etrogs would not make the mitzvah. You have to have all four. So, as much as we don't want to make a reason for suffering, we certainly don't want to make a reason for evil. We recognize that it is part of creation, the imperfection in ourselves, the imperfection in creation, perhaps the price we pay for living outside of the garden. And that's just how this psalm starts. It starts with the word, Almut Labain, and then it says Mizmor LeDavid. So what is Almut Labain? There's as many different explanations for that, but one of the things is,
Olamot.
Olamot.
Was it a couple of the early translations, Septuagint in Latin, I think, and the Latin combine the words into
Olamot.
Instead of on the death of the worlds, on the worlds, Alamot.
Right. Right, on the worlds. Right.
That's what I did with it.
Which is nice, but I kind of like what he does here. He says that it is not what Rashi says, the death of the son, but in the face of death. In other words, not death. Not death. Al-mut, labain, in the face of death. So what is immortal? What is immortal about righteousness? What is immortal about human beings? We read in the last psalm about Enosh, we are like dust, but we are also just below angels. So what is it that we are, and what is, the imperfection, the death, but what is also immortal? What's the immortality? And I think this psalm touches on that.
It also talks about, I love that, Olam is a Helam, at the root of the worlds. If you look at Olamot, it's a hidden thing.
Right.
The Olam is a Helam, we say. The world is a hidden place. And what is it in the hiddenness of this message that is going to evolve in the psalm?
Well, I have to say, even before we read it and before we offer the blessing, I really felt the presence of, maybe because of what's happening in the world, but I felt the presence of bullies and standing up to bullies in this psalm, and what that takes, and how difficult that is, and how it makes you vulnerable.
Yeah. He also talks about Bain is Ben, his son is Bain, between.
Bain.
That the worlds of between, we are suspended between.
Right.
And there's
it's a critical time when you're between, right?
Confrontational forces pulling.
Yeah.
And pulling us, squeezing us in both ways. We are between people.
So it challenges us, to destroy the wicked and to figure out what it means to blot out.
Get on the side of justice. Justice.
Get on the right side. That's right. Because the throne of judgment is set up. So why don't you offer a blessing?
ובפי עמך בית ישראל ונחיה אנחנו וצאצאינו וצאצאי עמך בית ישראל כולנו יודעי שמך ולומדי תורתך ברוך אתה אדוני המלמד תורה לעמו ישראל. Oh God, make the words of our teachings pleasant on our lips and the lips of all of those that come into our circle, so that we can spend a time in learning for pleasure and consequence, and the implications of what we learn to what we do. Blessed are you who teach us to your people in this fashion. Amen.
Amen. So here is the psalm. I think I'll read it from... Well, the first verse from the... And you'll... But, he okay, and you'll do the Hebrew, but
a little bit.
In verse 1, to the one that grants victory to immortality, right? Immortality. But this one says, I will praise you, God, with all my heart. I will tell all your wonders, and I will rejoice and exult in you, singing a hymn to your name, O Most High. When my enemies retreat, they will stumble to their doom at your presence. For you uphold my right and claim, enthroned as the righteous judge. Bless the nations, destroy the wicked, blot out their name forever, till the enemy is no more. There are ruins everlasting. Tear down their cities, that their very names are lost. But God abides forever. There is some constant. Right? Set up a throne for judgment. It is godliness that will judge the world with righteousness and rule the people with equity. Equity, isn't that? That's the basis of all of this, is equity. Not us and them, not haves and have-nots, but equity. That is Torah. God is a haven for the oppressed, a haven in times of trouble. Those who know your name do trust you, for you do not abandon those who turn to you. Sing a hymn. Sing to God. The one that reigns. Declare the deeds among the people, the deeds that you have done, Yetziat Mitzrayim, all of the miracles, for you do not ignore the cry of the afflicted. We know this from Hagar, from Sarah, from so many, that requites bloodshed. You who requite bloodshed is mindful of those who are suffering. That's what drew you into the story in the first place, right? Have mercy on us. See our affliction in the hands of our foes. You who lift us from the gates of death, so that in the gates of Zion I might tell all your praise. I might exult in your deliverance. The nations sink in the pit that they have made. Their own foot is caught in the net they have hidden. God has made God's self known. Works, judgment for the wicked shall be snared by their own devices. The wicked shall be snared by their own devices. Let the wicked be in Sheol, be in hell. All the nations that ignore this equity, this godliness, this goodness, this righteousness, that ignore godliness, not always shall the needy be ignored, nor the hope of the afflicted lost forever. So rise, 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 God. Let not men have power. Let not people have power. Let the nations be judged in your presence. Strike fear into them, God. Let the nations know they are only human, and all are the same. Let the nations know that they are just people. And as my grandmother said, every person has to put their pants on one leg at a time.
Okay.
Sorry. So let's hear the interpretation. And again, if you want to prepare for Sunday morning, Psalm 10 seems to really flow from Psalm 9, and we always take a break on Shabbat.
Psalm 9, between. Combine the words into worlds. On the worlds, this world and the next, the world above, the world below, we the between people. Lift up a song to between, David, to the world as hidden. Grateful and known to God, I will speak the wonders, some joy growing. Enemies present but stumbling. Reserve the seat of righteous judge, Shofet Tzedek. An enemy has wasted our cities. God has reserved the throne. Overcome chaos, return righteousness, be straight ahead. A high tower in times of distress, curious in godliness, trusting you, singing, lifting up praise. You remember the poor, crying, be gracious to me, lift me up above death. I will tell the story, vigorous and complete. They caught their feet in their own nets. God has brought down judgment, works of the hands. You who have forgotten, you're going down. Poor hope will not be lost. Get up, God. Teach them. Correct them. Selah.
Selah. The custom of our people to offer psalms when someone is sick. Just the recitation of these psalms is enough, maybe, to shift destiny a little bit. How does it work? I'm not sure, but I know that each day as we begin our day, learning, studying, entering into these psalms, that as we lift them up, they lift us up. So that's our prayer. Our prayer is that these psalms somehow make a difference in your day, no matter how difficult and challenging the day may be. May the psalms somehow heal as they attempt to heal the soul of the nation. May they give us the kind of lift that will heal our souls as well. So we say to everyone, Shabbat Shalom and Moedim L'Simcha, Hag Sameach. Tomorrow morning at 10, we'll have our Simchat Torah service, followed by a Yizkor service that we're asking people. We're going to do it on Zoom, so we're asking you, if you want to Zoom with us for Yizkor, to sign up. So again, Shabbat Shalom and Hag Sameach, and we'll see you on Sunday morning.